The talk is who clean. I can't say shit on the talk, I can say crap apparently. Oops. So this talk is about who cleans this crap up after it happens. How can they help you, and how you can help yourselves? And now we're really getting started. But thank you for interrupting me all the time. This is really useful. I'm not being sarcastic for once. So introduction story number 1, really quick. So very, very careful language. Some Russian-speaking internet surfers get upset. Estonia goes kaboom. They didn't really go kaboom because they were really, really good at responding. Instant response saved their asses. Can I say asses? Too late. But they're a special case. They're a really small country, and they had a cert that worked really well, even though it wasn't supposed to. So everybody got together, instant response. You're not judged by having incidents, you're judged by how you respond to them. And then, of course, international infrastructure. If they didn't have the help of the community, and why did the community help? Why did other certs help? They helped because DDoS affects the internet, not just Estonia. It's not picking sides. So getting started here, you can Google, I'm going to pimp one of my articles, online mobs, and you'll find the whole story about Estonia. But why did everybody get involved? What happened there? They were under attack as a country. DDoS affects the internet. They needed other people to solve this problem. Simple facts. Georgia. Russia, very careful language here, gets annoyed with Georgia, or Georgia, or Gruzia. I'm not really sure what to call them anymore, I'm sorry. They enter with bombs and tanks, which really calls for, we don't need cyber anymore, right? Now, the tech journalists get overexcited. I don't remember who originally had this quote, I'm stealing it. But basically, tech journalists' wet dream, I can report about war sitting behind the computer screen. War reporting, without any risk. So everybody immediately shouts cyber war, again, the favorite buzzword. Was it, wasn't it, doesn't matter right now. The interesting thing is, one interesting thing about the attack was the time window of the first attack. Started 2 hours before the tanks went in, and 2 hours after. Controlling the media, communication, etc. Very useful, very interesting. Maybe could be attributed to Russia, because if it wasn't them, I would still have done it. Black worm. I've been criticized about that quite a bit. So it was a relatively small-scale spreading worm, but it was a destructive one. It would destroy your documents in a nutshell. CADA followed it with some statistics, and they saw several 100,000 infected. We all got together, from US CERT through SANS, all over the world. People looked at IP addresses. ISPs wasted time and money to call users, tell them, fix your computers. Oh, yes, there is not a fix out yet, but be careful, back up your documents. Everybody got involved. It was serious. Up until today, on the 3rd of every month, I believe, my memory isn't that good, people lose their documents and go on forums and ask, how do I recover them? It's a business now in India because that's the place that was most hit. The thing about black worm that was so amazing was the amazing, I say it amazing twice, the incredible incident response that happened. Forget all the coordination. We got on a phone call. The FBI opened a case file. All the security industry that was involved coordinated on what not to say so we don't hurt the FBI's case. We actually connected 2 field offices together so they can work, and it opened something in HQ. Antivirus companies added signatures and analyzed it. ISPs reported. We got several reporting organizations to send out the alerts. I can go on, and there was a phone call for an hour and a half with a friend of mine, Zot, at Microsoft. MSRC likes to call the Emmy Awards. Because completely unintentional, whenever you would talk there, somebody's like, thank you, Gadi, for that very kind note. Thank you, everybody, for your help. Now, it was really annoying as a phone call, but it was very useful because everybody got there. UK, South Korea, everywhere was on that call, cooperating. We have had cooperation before. This happens all the time. Massive worm breakouts, botnets. But this was, as far as I'm concerned, a breakthrough. So here is the third introduction story. A Facebook worm. This is very recent, a few months old. So I was the first to report it. Of course I wasn't. There are others who saw it before me and probably sent it to their antivirus companies. But as far as the community was concerned, the Internet Security Operations community, the people who help out, I was the first to see it, completely by accident. Lots of worms out there. So it's a dubious credit. I send it in. Now, Facebook immediately starts filtering the URLs. So you can't send new messages with them. HD Moore, completely by mistake, it was my IM at the time. I was looking for a reverse engineer. He was there. He helped me out for 10 minutes. He found the drop zone where the worm drops, I believe it was credit card information. So we could go ahead and antiviruses, for that matter, add the detection for the samples in record time. And then ISP started taking down the drop zone IP addresses. Again, take down whatever caveats are there. Amazingly enough, we actually managed to get together with registrars in the past few years and get them into an operational peer pressure group of sorts, where everybody helps each other, with security community in there. We have a domain name we need to take down. It's really important. There is a huge worm spreading. So they took down drop zone domain names. Facebook security team, they had a really cool time of the month then. They had a coding night where they stay and code. So they coded some stuff. I don't know what they did up to this day, but the next day all the messages with the infecting URLs were gone. And more important than that, as far as I'm concerned, Facebook sends out email messages with the messages that were sent on Facebook. So people would still get them and click, whether Facebook deleted them or not. So Serble and other URL-based DNSBLs or blacklists added these domain names, these infecting sites, so that new emails being sent, or at least not yet received, would be filtered. Massive coordination. The funny part, we had live statistics. It was a web hosting company in Poland, which we never managed to mitigate. We had no contact over there to actually go and knock on their door and say, please shut this down. So we actually did refresh all the time. Oh, it went up 200,000 more. How cool. Eventually, they ran out of the allotted bandwidth for the month. The entire hosting company. So we lost count at around 1 million visiting users. We can't know if they're all infected, right? And of course, there is us keeping refreshing all the time. So that was an interesting incident. The reason I'm mentioning a smaller incident, 1 million infected, if it went out in the press, 1 million infected in Facebook War, it would sound big, but it's nothing. So many bots out there, no reason even counting them. So let's start getting down to business. How does regular incident response work? Limited network response for someone attacking you or whatever. So X gets hit. You investigate. Okay, you're good with that? Fine. Now, unless you already have contacts, unless you already went through this, unless you know somebody or know somebody, you start making calls. Hey, hello, ISP? Yes, I know you're tech support, but please, please, please escalate me. So it takes you 3 hours to try and escalate to the NOC, trying to get contact somewhere across the world. God forbid they're speaking Korean, Chinese, I don't know what. And nothing against this country, just I don't know how to speak Chinese. It's a problem. Russian, I have my girlfriend. It's true. So anybody has a contact at Y, that's the most annoying thing. Like email Nanog or some other useless, useful mailing list and say, anybody has a contact at Y? And everybody immediately shouts, that's off topic. How dare you? Say, I'm under attack. I don't know what to do. If they had an abuse team, the abuse team often doubles as the sort of unofficial CERT. Why? Because they have contacts. They know people in other places. So this is what usually happens. You run around trying to somehow mitigate this if you can't do it on your own local level or with your uplink transit provider. If you're well connected, now if you're X and you know Y's daddy, right? The transit provider, the network manager, the CTO, the CEO, the abuse manager, his wife. I can't say shit, right? I crap you not. It works. That will work. You're well connected, you get people to help you. Now, if X knows somebody who knows Y's daddy, that works also. You can be in a peer group with Y or Y's daddy, or you can have an active team or a person that does what a CERT is supposed to do. Having a CERT means nothing. Most CERTs just translate vulnerability reports to their own language, which is very, very useful, of course. So how does it work? There are really 3 main ways this gets done. Central out, as we explained, responding locally and calling others. Put people on the phone. Mailing list mishmash. You have all these super secret, yet another super secret mailing list. So somebody sends something in, somebody else happens to be alive at that point and reply. Somebody else has time and looks at the binary. Somebody at an ISP actually looks at the network and says, I found the command and control server. Whoever happens to be there. And it works. It gets mitigated. Some do it better than others. And then there is the leader/loser. I kid you not. I'm not calling anybody else a loser except me, just so we're clear. Don't want anybody to get offended. You're somebody busy, but you have some spare time. I don't know, you got back home at 2 a.m. and you decided to check your email for some reason because you're addicted. You said, aha, there is something going on here, whether on a mailing list, in your inbox, somebody called you. And you coordinate. You call Facebook and tell them, hey, did you check XYZ mailing list? Are you there? Do you happen to be on that particular yet another mailing list? Oh, guys at the antivirus world, how about you add detection? You coordinate it. You get everybody to work together. So that one person, it could be Paul Vixie, it could be Rob Thomas, it could be me, not many others, because not a lot of people are stupid enough to go out and waste their time like this. Coordinate it. They just add a level of coordination, not much more. And it runs smoother. Instead of 1 million infected, we could have had 20. Now, big internet incidents, except for Estonia, where it was just big. They're either really, really big and then you notice them. You could have somebody who researches this stuff, such as Jose Nazario at Arbor, and say, I'm seeing something in my logs. Can you look at that? Well, listen to him, he's a good guy. Or you have very small incidents with people who are not well connected. People like you and me. And these incidents would grow and grow and grow. Maybe while they're on the phone trying to get somebody, if they even noticed it. And then they become huge, they become big. So there is a note here I would like to make on critical infrastructure vulnerability incidents. I don't really want to comment much about the DNS bug. That's for Dan to do. I don't know much about it. I will limit myself to say that has been a huge coordination. Dan Kaminsky and Paul Vixie have done an amazing job. They got people on the phone. They got them to meet with them. They got them to release patches the same day. Huge logistical work. Huge logistical work. More than that, just consider how many people at that point started scanning the internet for recursive DNS servers. Ask Dan. How many abuse complaints were sent just about that? SendGate. I'm raising somebody. It's never a good idea to raise one of your least popular moments. Bugtrack, I think it was 2005, SendMail had a few vulnerabilities released. They've done an incredible job of patching everything within a month. But SendMail, with all due respect, is installed on so many systems around the world that it could be, under some definitions, considered critical internet infrastructure because of what could happen if there was, for example, a SendMail worm. Throwing out an idea, let's not really open the discussion for now. But back then, nobody really understood the concept of critical internet infrastructure, except for very few people, and then they would limit it to DNS, BGP, etc. Everybody should go to Jake's talk on the last day of the con. They're going to show how they're doing something nasty to critical infrastructure. Last note, actual critical infrastructure that everybody would agree on, SCADA systems. It's kind of like it used to be on Backtrack, why Backtrack was started. Vendors would not respond to your reports if you actually found somebody to report to. If anything, if they had somebody to actually understand what's going on, they would threaten you with legal lawsuits. It didn't really change much between now and then. But the SCADA industry is much the same. They have the security teams. They have people trying to get things done. They have people trying to get organized and answer on security issues. And people may jump at me from the audience and say, you don't know what you're talking about, which is always true. But I don't see many of these SCADA vulnerabilities getting patched. I see a lot of this research get classified. I see a lot of this research never get published. I see a lot of people not even wanting to research SCADA. And not only because of the cost involved. And another very good industry to look at is the games industry. Reporting a vulnerability to a game vendor is not very easy. So, so-called critical infrastructure, side note, let's leave it at that. So, where do we get to with all these people working together on data? Because we get pissed. We get annoyed. We work so hard, and they just make more millions and millions and millions. Banks in the UK lose as much as They lose hundreds and millions of pounds